Hello loves, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be breaking down the new moon in Pisces that's happening on February 20th. We're going to be doing the collective messages. I pulled some oracle, some tarot. You guys already know how we do, but we're going to start with the astrology with the planetary position specifically. Okay. So we have the sun. It's going to be in Pisces, moon in Pisces, Mercury will be in Aquarius, Venus will be in Pisces, Mars will be in Gemini, Jupiter will be in Aries, Saturn will be in Aquarius, Uranus will be in Taurus, Neptune will be in Pisces, and Pluto will be in Capricorn. So we do have a Pisces stellium during this specific new moon, which definitely makes it a very powerful time because the water energies are going to be very, very potent is the word that we're going to go with. For those who don't know what a stellium is when three or more planets are in the same sign, and also usually in the same house as well. But when they're in the same sign, it has, think of it as like a football team. Like they're all in the same sign. They're playing in the same team because they're in the same sign. Okay. But they have different, obviously they are expressed differently because each planet has different rulership. So obviously, but it's still in the same sign. So it's still playing within the same ballpark energy, right? But everybody has a different role, right? So that's the planetary position. So we have a lot of water in the chart. There's definitely going to be that emotional intensity. Now that we're moving into Pisces season, it is definitely going to be a watery time, very emotional time. Pisces rules the subconscious with Neptune. So all forms of creativity, spirituality, dreams, glamour, all of those things are very, very much active during this time. You might be feeling a little bit creative. You might be feeling a little bit expressive or a little bit like reclusive, like you might just go into hermit mode during this time as well, because Pisces also rules the energy of reflection, right? The subconscious mind. So the energy itself is very like ebb and flow, ocean, waves. It is very dreamy. The dreams will definitely be potent. Okay. This is also a great time to do prophetic dream work during this specific new moon, especially if you've been wanting to like see into the future, for example, or if you wanted to, open up your path creatively. Like if you need ideas, if you need a breakthrough, if you've been feeling stuck and you feel like you need a, clarity on how to proceed in something, this is a great time to do that. Obviously, because it is a water-based, like, new moon, great time for a spiritual bath, great time to cleanse your energies, because this is the last new moon of the old year, right? Because we're going to be moving into Aries season in March. So the energy will shift then, and then we'll be in the new astrological year, which is when I will have a whole video breakdown for that in the next upcoming weeks. I just want to do it closer to the time. So stay tuned for that video. But we do have a sun in conjunction to the moon, sun in conjunction to Saturn, moon in conjunction to Saturn as well, because they are actively working together during this time. The sun in conjunction to the moon, there's a very, very present Piscean energy. The stellium is very, very much going to be felt very heavily, but because it's Pisces energy, Pisces is not, while it can be an emotionally heavy sign, it ebbs and flows. It ebbs in and out of the heaviness in many ways. Kind of like think about listening to think about listening to an album. You get, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of like, a kick, an up tempo, you get the slow melodies, you get the ballads, right? You get like the slower music and then it kicks up again. Like it's kind of like that, like Pisces energy, moon navigating through the days is like that. Like things are very, they ebb and flow into different vibes. Emotionally, it kind of pushes you into a different thing, and the story of each song of each day is a little bit differently as well. So it's a little bit different as well. So the energy is definitely going to be very emotionally semi-grounding is what I'm going to call it, because you might feel a little bit more, depending on how you work with the energy as well, because when it comes to having stelliums in certain signs, but specifically water signs, the energy could literally be, you know, something that you either get overwhelmed by, or you get, you know, taken in and you're feeling a lot of emotions and you're kind of like a little bit all over the place, or you might be a little foggy because, you know, Piscean energy, you can feel like very disconnected or very like, oh, not really clear on what the solution is or what to act on. It really depends on how you're navigating the energy when it's happening, which is why I recommend you start off the day with a spiritual bath. Just trust. Start of the day with a spiritual bath. It will help a lot to kind of just ground yourself with the element of water, as we are now in, you know, going to be in this beautiful Piscean energy season. Okay, so it helps to connect with the energy of water, and can help, you know, just allow you to kind of ebb and flow. It can also help you set the intentions that you're going to need to focus on for the next upcoming weeks ahead as well. But there is just definitely a need for grounding the energy, especially with the sun in conjunction to Saturn, because y'all know Saturn is very, very focused on grounding, foundation, tradition, but also restriction. So there's a need to not, you know, lose yourself completely in the energy, but to definitely ground yourself as well, and to be present with yourself, with your individuality, with what your needs are during this time are very, very, very important. So make sure you kind of start off the day, you know, with some freshness, and just honestly take a spiritual bath. Emotionally, you might ebb and flow or go through different moods. It might feel like, for those who are, you know, women, it might feel like you're PMSing a little bit during this specific moon cycle. Like it might just feel like a day where you're just like, oh, 1 second you're like this, 1 second again. It's like kind of like playing an album. Each song has a different vibe. It's kind of like that. Like you might go through different points, high points, low points throughout the day. So, you know, just allow yourself to go with the flow of it. Don't, you know, don't feel guilty that your energy is kind of a little bit, you know, like that. Don't feel guilty about that. That's definitely how the energy is anyway. But make sure that you are holding space for anything that comes up during this time, especially if you have a dream. Even if you don't do any prophetic dream work during this time, if you have a specific dream or something comes up for this, especially all of Pisces season, it's really important to pay attention to your dreams, because the dreams be potent with messages. So it's a really important time to like really dive into dream work. But if you're like contemplating on something that came up, this would be the time to like really sit with that and, you know, think about, okay, how did this make me feel? How did I take that? Who did this remind me of? Like, what kind of vibe was it giving? Like, all of these different things is important to kind of check in and see how you're feeling as well. As always, especially during Pisces season, it's important to check in on your mental health. So always recommend therapy forever and always. So make sure that you are, you know, checking in with yourself. Mercury will be in a trine with Mars, which makes it for some very clear, potent intentions. You might find a creative solution, or might be revealed a creative solution to a problem during this time. You might feel very passionate or have a mental breakthrough in something being resolved in a certain way, and you know, putting kind of like the pieces of the puzzle together and being like, oh my God, I got it. I know how I'm gonna do this. This is great, again, if you're doing something creatively, or you are, you know, you need to write, or you need to you're working on a project or something like that. Maybe you've been like stuck, or maybe you've been, you know, like, oh man, writer's block or something like that. Like, this is a great energy for you to like have that breakthrough of how everything continues through there. But also feeling passionate about why it needs to be done the way it needs to be done, or the communication that's being had, very much feeling passionate about the words that you're choosing. However, keep in mind that with the water energy in the chart, there is the sensitivity to the things that we're communicating as well. So don't, you know, this is not a time to be hella blunt and be like very aggressive with the communication, but it is a time where, even though you're having a lot of mental clarity and those things are triggering your passions and what it is that you are acting on, you can still be very sensitive to those realities as well. So just be gentle with yourself. You know, you want to make sure you're not Okay, you're not doing too much because you do have to check in with yourself quite a lot during Pisces season anyway. Mercury will also be in a square with Uranus, which is really powerful for a lot of breakthroughs and changes for things that needed to be said. Now, this should go without saying, but I gotta say it anyway. It really does. It goes without saying, but I have to say it anyway. When it comes to, you know, Pisces season, because Pisces rules lying, okay? And because this is a new moon in Pisces, because this is a time where illusions can be broken or can be built. This is a time where, you know, certain clarity, you know, is given as well if one looks for it. You can either get lost in an illusion during Pisces season, or, you know, certain illusions can break and you can actually see the truth of the situation. Be mindful when it comes to, you know, certain truths that you discover. Make sure you give yourself the space that you need to, you know, check in with yourself, ground yourself, to be okay, to process what you need to process. You might go through a very mental transformative process where you now have to change or evolve due to you gaining a specific knowledge. You might have to do something differently. You might have to approach something differently. So just be gentle with yourself, because it's not always like super easy to navigate that space. Especially because the truth is not always covered in roses or honey. Sometimes it's like straight up a blade through your mind and through your heart, and it's like, oh damn. Sometimes, again, the truth hurts. So sometimes those realities that, you know, those breakthroughs that we have are not always pleasant to go through. So make sure you just hold space for yourself to, you know, be okay as you're processing. Especially with communication, you might, like, especially collectively, some truth bombs might come out. Some people might, you know, get exposed, or like, you know, you might discover the truth of a situation as well. So be very gentle with yourself. And Venus will also be in a conjunction with Neptune, which, when it comes to love and relationships, this is great for having that whole happily ever after energies. And it can be a very romantic kind of energy, because Neptune tends to like romanticize it, and make it can also make you have rose-colored glasses too. But the only thing about this is, in relation to everything else that's happening, like all of the other aspects, you could discover something about someone that you didn't want to see, and then you see it, and then you're like, dang. Like, again, the truth is revealed. But with the Venus in conjunction to Neptune, is really, it's really cute for relationships, for like having a crush on someone, romanticizing a relationship, especially during that like 3-month period, right? But at the same time, it can, you know, reveal, like, especially with the other, again, with the other aspects, can reveal where that romanticization has, you know, been actively hiding some truths that you needed to accept about the situation as well. So keep that in mind. Be gentle with yourself. Now, when it comes to the cards, okay, we have the 5 of Swords, the Knight of Swords, and the Emperor. Okay. And then we have the 9 of Swords in reverse, the Magician, and the Queen of Wands. Okay. So a lot of what's happening right now is to prepare us for, you know, Aries season. We are in the last season of the astrological year. It is a very potent and powerful time to really reflect on. This is supposed to be the end of the year. I want you to think about all of the things that you were thinking about during Capricorn season, especially in December, when everybody's like really beating themselves up and their mental health is not in the best place. This is supposed to be that time astrologically. This is when you're supposed to hold space for it. And because Capricorn energies is way more like strict and way more like blunt with the truth when it comes to having these realities and these realizations. Pisces is a lot more gentle in that regard. Like Pisces energy is meant to ease you into, you know, those realizations, into those senses of reflection. That's why when it comes to Pisces ruling art, there's always a way in the way that the truth for them is expressed through that art, right? So it's this process that's supposed to happen now, but because society is a little bit out of sync, it gets done a lot more harshly during Capricorn season, unfortunately. But we can't change that, right? So what I would recommend is to take some of those reflections that you did have in December and now think about it through the lens of that Piscean energy, especially that moodiness, like why you're still hung up on it, why it hasn't been properly let go, all of those things. So you can actually find some closure. So when we get into Aries season, we're like getting somewhere, right? There's a lot of realizations that are happening. The Five of Swords through the, into the Knight of Swords. There might be some, again, when it comes to the collective and friends and you know, some realization, some communication that's very like blunt, very heavy, not necessarily the easiest to deal with. It definitely feels like people were definitely careless in certain situations and allowed their words to be, and keep in mind that the Knight of Swords is the most aggressive knight in tarot, especially coming out of, in the bottom of the deck is literally the King of Swords and Death. Okay, keep in mind that we're coming, you know, out of Aquarius season, very air sign, air energy, where it rules society and the collective. So the how we've been communicating as friends, as family, as, you know, within relationship, all those things matter. Okay, and so where communication has not been in the best place and how communication has harmed us, and where things that have not been said is now impacting us in this big way. And so the Nine of Swords in reverse, really placing us in the situation where now we kind of have to address these things that have been weighing on us for so long, and then moving into the Magician and the Queen of Wands, moving into the future. The whole point of this, again, this is the last new moon of this past astrological year, as we prepare to go into the next astrological year. So it is the time for reflection. It is the time for you to work out mentally all of the things that, you know, have transpired that are still haunting you, so you could be clear and in a clearer head moving into the next year, period. Okay, from Archangel Gabriel, we have detox time and we have keep going. Okay, so detox time says release toxins from the body, mind, and diets. And keep going says use the energy of any disappointments to fuel your creative project with authentic emotion. And this is what I'm saying. It is a really, really good time to set yourself up for success, but to also work with Pisces energy to help you, to help yourself as you move into the future, to help yourself. And get yourself grounded and centered with yourself as well. Then we have recharge. There's nothing like a walk on the beach to soothe your soul. Okay. Dive. You don't find pearls on the seashore, because there's always that energy of diving in deeper when it comes to Pisces energy, because it's connected to the ocean. And direction. Trust your inner compass to find your bearings. Like, trust that this is what you're meant to be doing now, so that you can get yourself sorted and that, you know, you can make yourself ready for the next year. And, you know, take the time, take the space, process your thoughts. Okay, there's a lot of transformation that's happening. It's a lot that needs to happen. Like, it's a process, but it's so needed. So take your time, breathe, take your time, and just work with the energy. Don't work against it. Don't swim against your own emotions. Don't swim against your own conversations that need to be had. Okay, just do the work. Do the work, and you'll benefit the best from the energy and the season's energy overall. Okay. So that was the messages that I got for you guys today. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for all, you know, the new subscribers and everybody, and all of the love and support. I really appreciate all of you. Shout out to the Patreon members as well. There's going to be a weekly voted video that's going to be posted soon, so stay tuned for that. So yes, definitely stay tuned for that video. I love you guys. I will see you guys in the next video.